But I'm going to get started. Welcome to my UK Global Talent Visa educational webinar. It's a UK Global Talent Visa in digital technologies, which I'll be speaking about today. Just a little bit about the contents. I'll just introduce myself if I haven't met you. I've met most of you here, and you might just need a bit of a refresher, or I haven't had time to go in detail in our calls. So I'll talk about the UK Global Talent Visa. I'll talk about the Stage 1 endorsement application and process and some of the criteria which will unlock a few challenges and barriers that people may be experiencing and understanding it, because it is overwhelming, trust me, I know. And I'll also be launching my Leadership in Tech course. I've been doing that for quite some time. So finally, I'm launching it today, and today is the day of the launch. And I'll also offer a special offer for you and you've taken the time out to attend. So I'll announce that later on. And then you can have a chance to ask your own questions. I might be a bit over in time, but please, if you can stay with me, that will be great. But if you have to go, I have recorded this webinar for you. And so just quickly, a little bit about myself. I am Vietnamese, Australian, and now I'm a British citizen. I'm now the Global Talent Visa Coach. In 2016, I know it's quite some time ago now, but it feels like yesterday since I received my Global Talent Visa. I was endorsed with Exceptional Talent. And then shortly after I was endorsed, I was the Technician Visa Ambassador for 2 years, helping people with their applications. And then 3 years after I received my visa, I got my indefinite leave to remain, and then I received my British citizenship just before COVID hit. So it's been such a long journey. I've had many visas in the UK, not just the Global Talent. I was on a spousal, then I was on an entrepreneur's visa that was expiring, and my time in the UK was at risk. And luckily, I found out that there was a Global Talent visa that was available to me, so I switched to the Global Talent visa from the old entrepreneur's visa. It's now the innovator's visa. I have spent 7 years in the UK, and I based myself in the north of the UK, and traveled regularly down to London so that I could help build my startup. I was an Australian solicitor before I moved to the UK and got bitten by the entrepreneurial bug and became a tech entrepreneur. I was the founder and CEO of my startup, which I've now deregistered. It was a great journey that I had. I also founded or co-founded a women in tech or wearable tech community as well. So I used my startup example and my all my community building things that I did for the community, for my women in tech community, as well as lots of presentations and conferences that I spoke at, articles that I wrote, and also articles that I was featured in. So those were some of the examples that I used in my application. I wrote a blog about my journey because back then in 2016, the Global Talent Visa had only just come about and not many people knew about it. And I certainly, didn't know much about it. And there weren't many people who had it. So no one really knew much about it, but I just kind of fumbled my way through. Being a solicitor really helped because I knew how to state my case and write convincing evidence and my personal statement to get endorsed. And then after I wrote the blog, it went viral, and so many people came and contacted me from all over the world, and I helped them for a little bit before I then decided to do this full time. I've coached over 1,000 tech entrepreneurs, senior execs, and tech employees over the years. My success rate is 90%. The endorsement rate is 54%. So I don't guarantee endorsement. What I can guarantee is a very strong application because I've done it that many times. I've read a lot of feedback, and I kind of know what the assessors are looking for. It usually takes about, the average is 3 to 4 weeks for an endorsement decision to come back. My best success result is my clients have received a response within 3 to 27 hours, which is amazing. But the average is 3 to 4 weeks, or it can take up to 8 weeks. The stronger your application, hopefully the assessor can kind of, be confident in endorsing you pretty quickly. So depending on their workload, but these clients who received a response very quickly had a very strong application. It was very well laid out and structured, and their story really resonated, and they were endorsed. So some of my clients have been extremely varied, and this is why I love what I do. I have clients from WhatsApp, Sony, LinkedIn, Meta, Google, so all the big tech companies. I also help startup founders and co-founders, UX designers, game designers, digital marketers, cybersecurity experts, customer success managers. You can see I help a lot of different people, both technical and business. So, just because it's a tech visa, you don't just have to be a technical person. You can have a business skill, which I'll go through in a second. And just a quick disclaimer, I only help with a stage 1 endorsement. Stage 2 is the visa application. I don't help with the visa application because once you've got endorsed, it's a matter of filling in the documents and forms to get the visa. But an immigration solicitor can help you if you need that help. But I only help with the endorsement. These are some of the examples that I used for my application. They want to see that you've been out in the community and making impact to the tech sector. So anything that you can provide as well as context to all this. So these are some of the examples that I provided. And this is the blog that's on my website that you can have a read of. I wrote it quite some time ago, but it's still very relevant. The criteria is a little bit different, but generally it is the same criteria. Just, you can put in more documents now than I did. There's more page limits. It increased from 2 pages when I was doing it to 3 pages. And now, which is great, you can apply online. When I applied, I had to send like an 80-page document to Tech Nation, but now it's all online. So they've done it for this long. They've made the process so much easier for you, and I'm just delighted because when I did it, it was a bit of a mess, but luckily I got it, and they've really streamlined their processes. Just a quick update. Last year, they had a bit of a scare for everyone. They thought that the visa was going to no longer be available because Tech Nation was no longer going to be the endorsing body. They were going to shut down. But it's okay. Founders Forum acquired them, apply as normal. However, there is going to be a new endorsing body. We don't know who it is yet. It may be announced at the end of the year, but the Global Talent Visa is still available. And the great thing about it right now is that we know what the criteria is now. If there's a new endorsing body, we don't know if they're going to change the criteria. So if you're thinking about applying, apply now, because I've been dealing with the criteria for so long. Everything is status quo, so there's no changes. So please have a look at applying now before the end of the year, before there's any potential changes. Even if they do change the endorsing body, any changes to the criteria won't happen straight away. Obviously, if there's a new endorsing body, they're going to have to get settled in. So don't be worried at all if there's not going to be major changes just yet. But if you need to apply, just apply sooner rather than later. So the Global Talent Visa, it used to be called the Exceptional Talent Visa, which I got, but it's now called the Global Talent Visa. It's a special visa that was introduced to allow highly skilled entrepreneurs and talent in digital tech to apply for the right to live and work in the UK for up to 5 years. You've got to complete a 2-stage process. First stage is endorsement by Tech Nation, the endorsing body. Second stage, once you're endorsed, you apply for the visa. You've got to meet the strict criteria by Tech Nation before you can apply for the visa. And this is more than a job application. If it was a job application, you'd go for the skilled worker visa and you'd be sponsored by a company. Whereas this one, it's based on merit. So it's not just about what you do in your day-to-day job, but it's about how you contribute to the tech community, which I discussed before. And the Global Talent Visa is an umbrella visa. There's lots of endorsing bodies in different disciplines to endorse people. So the Global Talent Visa, there's digital tech, which Tech Nation is the endorsing body for. There's arts, there's fashion, there's architecture, there's science, and there are different endorsing bodies for that, but they fall under the same Global Talent Visa umbrella. So this one is digital tech. The benefits is that you can have the freedom and flexibility to live and work in the UK for up to 5 years. Then you can apply for indefinite leave to remain and then British citizenship. My visa that I had, the entrepreneurs, it could only be renewed as an entrepreneur's visa. I didn't have a route to settlement. So that was the great thing about the Global Talent Visa for me. Now, if you have a skilled worker visa, you can switch to the Global Talent Visa, and your time in the UK counts towards a Global Talent Visa, which means you could potentially get ILR quicker than you would if you stayed on your tier 2 visa. So that's a really good benefit as well. You can bring your dependents with you. You can register a UK limited company. Some visas, such as the graduate visa, which I help some graduates with, they have a student visa, so they can't register a UK limited company and they can't start their own startup on that visa. So that's why some of them switch to the global talent visa. Just gives a bit more flexibility. It's attached to you, so you don't have to rely on a company to sponsor you. And then if you're being made redundant, your visa is at risk. So this is why the global talent visa is extremely useful, beneficial. Is it doesn't matter where you work, it stays with you. Particularly, again, with me, I had a startup, but I needed a break from my startup and I went and worked for an accelerator. And I also worked for a university. And then I came back and worked at my startup and my visa was no issue. I didn't have to worry about that. All I had to do was, go for the interview, got the job, got paid, which was great, and then left when I wanted to leave. I didn't have to worry about visas. And it's quite cost effective. Stage 1 is in the hundreds. It's stage 2 that's a bit more, only because you have to pay the NHS fee. But the application fee itself is in the hundreds. It's not in the thousands, which some visas are. The real benefits of the global talent visa, which I've experienced and also a lot of my clients have experienced, that once you get the visa, you've got credibility. Tech Nation have endorsed you as an exceptional talent or promise in the digital tech sector. You've got a bit more confidence now. You can go for the promotions that you want. You can negotiate your pay. You have more opportunities. You're not stuck with the same company. You can explore different things. You can start your own startup. And you become an accidental role model for people in your own countries. This is why I interview my clients who have received the global talent visa, and a lot of my clients then introduce their friends to get the global talent visa or work with me, because if some of the guidelines seem quite overwhelming, and it sounds like you need to be like someone famous or something. That's what it sounds like, but it's not. It's just normal people like you and I who apply for these. You've got great credentials, you've had some great achievements in the tech sector, and you can certainly apply and get endorsed. It gives you a bit more security as well. A lot of my clients have applied for mortgages and they can go and buy a house now because they don't have to worry about where they're going to be in 5 years' time. They know that once they've got the global talent visa, that's a route to settlement, and they control that process, so they don't have to worry about their jobs, their employers making them redundant or anything. So it gives them a bit more security, which is great. So some of the stats here, I've got people from 90 plus countries applying: USA, India, Russia, Pakistan, Canada. 54% endorsement rate. Since the Global Talent Visa was, or the Tech Nation one was launched, there's been about 5,000 successful recipients. It's not a lot, but the reason is because when I applied, and up until a few years ago, they had a cap. There were only 200 endorsements per year, which is crazy. That's not a lot. But because the cap has lifted, and there's about a 54% endorsement rate, so half. So if, say, 1,000 people applied, back when I applied, only 200 could get it. But now 54%, about 500 could get it usually. So it's a lot more. So hopefully these numbers will increase over the years. Male and female, obviously, there's more men in tech, which is why I'm I advocate for women in tech. You can see there's a 75-25 people, men versus women who apply. And then once you are endorsed and get the visa, you can join the Tech Nation Visa alumni, and you can meet people who have received the Global Talent Visa. And there's a lovely community in there. We have meetups, and there's a Slack channel. It's just another community that you're a part of for getting the Global Talent Visa. Here is a Tech Nation Visa report in 2021. I don't have any stats, more recent stats, but they're pretty the same, really. I've kind of looked at them over the years. So this is by country. You can see that Nigeria, India, Pakistan, the endorsement rate is a bit lower, whereas, China, US, Canada, Australia, probably Western English-speaking countries have a higher endorsement rate, but also, it's about the structure of your application. You've got to be able to talk about yourself and talk about yourself in a positive way. There's no need to be worried that you're bragging about your achievements. this is what this process is about. You need to really convince the assessor why you should have the global talent visa. You don't need to ask them to assess it in terms of whether or not you are good enough. You tell them that you are good enough, and these are the reasons why. So that's a mindset thing. So this is where I work with a lot of clients from the other countries, the ones with a lower endorsement rate, so they can write in a certain way to convince the assessor that they actually deserve the global talent visa. And these are some of the top skills that are being endorsed. It's the BizDev, 18%, but product management, there's also, where are the software engineers, 17%. So it's pretty much on par. Technical and business skills, people with those skills, they're being endorsed. So it's about roughly the same. Not, the people, software engineers aren't getting endorsed more than people with business skills. It's about the same. Okay. And if you don't fall within those categories, pick the one that's the closest to you, because, tech is so, it changes so quickly. My client, for example, she was a customer success manager, and they wasn't really in it. So we just picked something that was closest to, and she was involved in a bit of biz dev, a bit of marketing, a bit of customer operations. So there was a lot that she was doing within that title. So you don't have to fall within these specific titles of your job. And these are just some of the stats that I was talking about. Now, the stats go from April to April each year. It's not like from January to January. So what's important now, 2024, 2025, from the 1st of April, there have already been 1,228 applications. So that's quite a lot if you look about it. So if you think about it, 3 years ago, that was 1,350 applications for that whole year, but we're halfway really, and there's so many more applications, which means the competition is high. There's a lot more applications coming through. So it's going to supersede. It's around 3,000 now per year. So it's on par. Okay. So quickly about the process. There's 2 stages. The first stage is the endorsement stage. The second stage is the visa stage, and you only go to the visa stage if you get the endorsement. Within the endorsement stage, however, there's 2 steps. The first step is you pay and register online at the Home Office. It's £524, so it's not too bad. You've got 30 working days. They tell you you've got 15, but what if you don't, sorry, I skipped a step. Once you pay and register at the Home Office, then you go to step 2 and upload your documents to the TechNation portal. You've got 30 working days in which to do this. They give you 15, but if you don't upload your documents within the 15 days, they send you another email to say, look, we haven't received anything. Please do so within 15 days. If you don't, you lose your fee. So they give you 30 working days to upload your documents onto the TechNation portal. So that's the process there. Then they've got 8 weeks to make a decision. Usually they take about 3 to 4 weeks. Again, some of my clients have, they've had it within a few days, but usually it's about 3 to 4 weeks. You get an email from the Home Office to say, yes, you are successful, and go to stage 2, or no, you are unsuccessful. And here's the feedback from the assessors about why they didn't endorse you. Now, if that happens, and I do help with appeals as well, you can have a look at the decision, and only if you feel that the assessor made a mistake based off the decision that they gave you, is you can appeal because they didn't look at certain documents, or they didn't see any documents, but you did submit those documents. So you've got 28 calendar days to respond, and I help with that. And then they've got 28 calendar days to come back again and make the final decision. It usually goes to another assessor, or it does go to another assessor to look at your appeal and your whole application again. Okay. And then that second assessor would either say, yes, we agree with you and you are endorsed, or no, we agree with the first assessor. I'm sorry, you're not endorsed. You can apply again using the feedback that I've provided you. So you could potentially get 2 sets of feedback, and then you can reapply. Sometimes that's what I do with clients. If they come to me and say, look, I've got this feedback, what do I do? Our strategy is either, do we want to appeal and get more feedback, or do we just don't bother about appealing? There's too many things that need to be changed, and we go straight to resubmission, and I work with them. And usually they come out stronger the second time around, obviously, because I've got my help and the feedback as well, which is really helpful. So if you are unsuccessful, stage 2, it's £192 for the application fee. You've got your biometrics. When I did it, and I don't work with stage 2, but when I did mine, it was about £20 for biometrics. But then the NHS or the IHS fee now is $1,035 per year. So if you go for a 3-year visa, if you've got talent, exceptional talent, you go for 3 years, and that you have to pay about about 3,100 or something. But if you've got exceptional promise, it's a 5-year visa, you have to pay 5,000 per person. So that is a lot. So just be mindful of that. And then it's 3 to 8 weeks to get a decision. For me, I got my visa within like a week or two, very quick. I was already in the UK, so it was a very quick process for stage 2. Okay. Now, eligibility. This is really important. You might be eligible, but you may not meet the criteria. But as a first step, these are the eligibility criteria. If you've got a technical or business skill, those with a technical skill, you can work for a non-technical organization and a technical organization. Those with a business skill should really work for a technical organization only. And then if you're not technical and you don't work from a non-technical organization, you're not eligible. So that's what it's saying, that business people must be working for a technical organization, whereas technical people can work for a technical or business organization. Okay, so there's a bit more slack around people with technical skills. Anyone who is a consultant, so anyone who works for the likes of Wipro, Capgemini, PwC, KPMG, those types of outsourcers, TCS, they're considered as consultancies, so they're not usually eligible. So I do get a lot of people who work for these consultants, and unfortunately they're not eligible. I like to think anyone who could work for product-led digital technology companies, they are a stronger chance of meeting the criteria and being eligible. Okay. There are 2 categories in which you can apply. You can apply under this exceptional talent or the exceptional promise. The difference is in number of years of experience. The exceptional talent, you should have more than 5 years experience in tech. You're later in your career, you can prove your leadership through your skills and achievement, and you're in a bit of a higher role, more senior role. You're a leader, you're a manager, so someone who's been in the industry for more than 5 years. Anyone who has less than 5 years technical experience or years working in tech, you're earlier in your career, you can show your potential to be a leader through your skills and achievements. And these are people who are more students, graduates, or junior, not quite senior yet. They can apply for exceptional promise. The question I get asked for most is people who have more than 5 years experience, but don't have the criteria, that they can't meet some of the evidence that's required in the criteria. They want to go for promise. Okay, that's not what the assessors are looking for. You should really, if you've got more than 5 years experience, you should be able to show that you meet the criteria. Otherwise, you're going to have to wait and collect more evidence before applying. If you have more than 5 years experience, but you apply for promise, the assessor may still assess you under talent and say, well, this person's got 8 years experience. They should be applying for talent. So we're going to assess them under talent. So you're really shooting yourself in the foot if you're just going to try and apply for promise if you've got more than 5 years experience. That's a risk that I see. You can certainly do it. That's up to you. But for me, I assess your risk, and that would be very high risk in doing so. The best thing to do is either speak to me and we decide, okay, let's see what evidence we can find, or you might need to wait a bit longer, gather more evidence to build up your evidence for talent. Now, this is really important. The definition of a product-led digital technology company is so important because in the criteria, they want you to provide examples or evidence of you working for a product-led digital technology company. I speak with a lot of people who have a varied career, which is fine. Some of them have worked as a consultant, some of them, and then, later on in their career, they work for product-led, go back to consultancy and go back to product-led companies. Product-led companies are defined as businesses that develop products, that provide proprietary, so they develop something, a digital technical service, product, platform, hardware as their primary revenue source. So if you have a varied career and you've worked for different companies, we only use those examples of when you worked for product-led, okay? And you can only go as far back as 5 years. If you go back longer, it's not your application is not going to be as strong because the things that you've worked on, say, 10 years ago, as I said, the tech sector moves so quickly. You want more current or recent examples, and within the last 5 years is acceptable according to the assessors. So product-led is the creation of software, processing, storage of data, or the creation or application of technical computing hardware is often a central aspect of their business model. So something that they have created and developed and own, and they can either sell by one-off or by license or subscription. So those are the way they make their money from developing their own products and services or platform. Okay. So what do you need to produce? 15 documents. They consist of 5 CV, personal statement, and 3 letters of recommendations by experts. They have 3 separate individuals need to write on your behalf. You need to write a personal statement and your CV. That's 5 documents. The other 10 documents consist of you meeting the strict criteria. One of them is mandatory, and then you've got optional criteria, which you can select 2 out of 4 from. Now, the mandatory criteria is your leadership criteria. This is something that a lot of people struggle with because it's not just about your leadership within your company. It's also about your leadership within the industry. If you Google yourself, what will you find? This is the one thing that I always ask my clients to do. You Google yourself and you also Google your experts. Because you should be public facing. They should be able to find something about you. If not, we can work on that. You need at least 3 documents per criteria, okay? Because there's 3 criteria, that brings up to 9 documents, and you've got 10 to produce. The 10th document can be a document that you put against a criteria that you've already chosen. So what I tend to do and tend to advise my clients is stack your mandatory criteria because that's mandatory. So 4 pieces of evidence under mandatory criteria, and then 3 pieces of evidence or documents under the other 2 optional criteria. The 2 out of 4 optional criteria is you need to show that you have a proven track record of innovation or examples of innovation, work as an employee of a product-led digital technology company. Proof of recognition, optional criteria 2, is about your volunteer work. So the stuff that you do outside of your day-to-day job, and you have to prove that it advances the tech sector. The 3rd criteria is you need to show that you've made significant entrepreneurial, commercial, or technical contributions to the field as an employee of a product-led digital technology company. And to the field is either to the industry, to the customer, or to the company. I'll go through these in a sec. And the 4th criteria is academic contribution. So if you're in research, you need to provide examples of the research that you've done with a professor at a university and provide letters to prove that by the supervisor, as well as potentially your research publication. I'll go through that in a sec. So you can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4. You only need to select 2. So if you select innovation and impact, you need 3 documents per criteria. So it's 3 here, 3 examples of innovation, 3 examples of impact, 4 examples of leadership. That brings up to 10. Okay. That's an example, or you can choose the other criteria. So now I'm going to go through the criteria. Mandatory leadership criteria. You need to show that you've been recognized as a leading or potential talent in the digital technology sector. And this is what they're looking for. They're looking for a leader of exceptional talent or promise must show extraordinary ability by sustained or emerging national or international recognition. This is where I'm talking about Googling yourself and trying to showcase that not only do you do more than one talk, because, you know, they want sustain. They want more than one example, or if you're writing blogs or whatever, more than one. And it's got to be national or international recognition. So if you're in your own country, if you've won any awards or whatever, that's national. If you've entered any international awards, again, that's international because you're competing against people from other countries. But it's okay if it's only within your own country or city. You've got to also demonstrate a level of expertise or emerging expertise, which places you at the forefront of your respective field in the digital technology sector. See where it doesn't talk about in your own company, because they're looking at you outside of your company and your contributions and your leadership to the industry. And this is why I said Google yourself, see what is being said about you, so that you can prove that you are a leader or a potential leader in the digital technology industry, not just in the company. So these are some of the examples of leadership, which is in the guidelines. These are just examples. So there's 10 examples, and I've kind of split them out to internal and external leadership. Internal leadership is within your company. External leadership is your thought leadership to the industry. So you can provide examples, 4 examples, okay, pick 4 out of this 10, of any organizational product or thought leadership within the company, any marketing or biz dev, okay, it's your job to do that. Any open source projects, if you're technical, any industry awards that you've entered and nominated and won, any speaking engagements that you've spoken at, published, if you were published in any major trade publications, if you command a high salary, if you're a panel speaker, a judge at a competition, or if you've led any large technology-led industry initiatives, okay? I know it may sound overwhelming, but these are maybe goals for you to work towards. You've got the list, you can work towards them, and I can help you with that. And this is why I launched my leadership course, but I'll go through that in a sec. A lot of people go for number 7, which is high salary, which is fine. However, a high salary on its own is not going to be enough. It just shows that you have a high salary. It doesn't talk about your leadership. It just talks about your position in the company. And obviously, if you have, if you earn over 150,000, that's really nice and that's really good. You also need to show people an example of what the average salary in a person of your level, your field, your position, so that you can say to the assessor, my salary is high because the average is this. You do the research for them. You can't let them determine whether or not your salary is high. So you would go to do some research, online reports, and find your position title, how many years of experience, and hopefully that's lower than what you're currently getting. That's an example, but that only high salary is not going to cut leadership, which is why I recommend to do 4 pieces of evidence against leadership, because if high salary is one of them, you've got 3 other strong pieces of evidence under leadership. You can provide letters of support, news clippings, awards, promotional material, lines of code, articles, media press, any books that you've written. We can provide that as evidence, any articles that you're featured in or any interviews that you've done. These are examples, and they should be 3 pages each. So that's how you would structure your evidence, and I'll go through that later on. Okay. Now, leadership is also about your personal brand. I can't stress this enough, and this is something that I help my clients do as well, because if you're going to Google yourself and you're going to become a thought leader in your field, you need to really think about your personal brand. It's an intentional effort to create a public perception of yourself by positioning yourself as a leader or authority in your field. It's not about bragging. It's about raising your profile. It's about highlighting your strengths, establishing your reputation, build trust, and communicate your unique attributes that you bring to your current or desired industry. Okay, so when I work with clients in their application, we're kind of working on their personal brand, because we're telling a story, highlighting their strengths about who they are, and we're really focusing on their strengths and their achievements. And That's what we're really working on in the application, is working on their personal brand, so that the assessor can feel like they know, like, and trust you. That's really important. Okay. And thought leadership is about sharing your insights and ideas and a unique point of view that provokes new ways of thinking, sparks discussion, debates, and inspires action. Okay, if you are a thought leader, you'll know a topic inside and out. You should. If you've been in the industry for X number of years and this is what you do day in, day out, you are the best person to write about this, talk about this. You formed a clear and unique defensible point of view about it, and you can freely share that perspective. It's confidence, it's lack of confidence that stops people from doing this. A lot of my clients are like, well, people don't want to hear from me. There's so many other people talking about it. It doesn't matter. Not everyone has the same experience, okay? This is why I do what I do. Every application is different. Even though someone may have the same titles and they may do the same things, everyone's experience on projects, the life experience, where they've worked, countries, companies, everyone is different. So you have a voice and you should share that voice, definitely. And that is your thought leadership. Okay, I can talk about leadership all the time, which I have in my course. So I'll talk about that in a sec. But let's move on to innovation. This is the first of the 4 criteria that you can choose. So innovation is about a proven track record for innovation or examples as a founder or senior exec of a product-led digital technology company or an employee working on a new digital field or concept. The easiest way to show innovation is a patent. However, not everyone has a patent. So this is about your work. You need to show, why is it innovative? How is it innovative? And is it a new digital field or concept? So you need to prove this to the assessor, benchmark it against industry. Why is what you've done innovative? What are your competitors doing? If you can show your concepts or prototypes or strategy, those are examples of innovation. And you need more than one. You need at least 3. So 3 examples of your innovation. The guidelines tell you to put employment contract, but don't do this, because that's not innovation. A lot of my clients have fallen, they've provided this under innovation, but put it under high salary if your salary is high. Okay, just want you to check that. The second optional criteria which you can choose is proof of recognition for work beyond your occupation that contributes to the advancement of the field. So it's all volunteer work. So any community work, volunteer work, you provide letters of support. If you mentor at structured mentorship programs, okay, not just mentoring one person here and there or one startup or at a university, they're not accepted. It needs to be an organization, preferably, obviously it should be a tech organization. So for example, like Kids Who Code or boot camps and women in tech organizations that, so it needs to be some kind of tech organization, a community, potentially tech organization. STEM ambassador program's a good way. And if you're speaking at certain events that, that you do outside of your day-to-day job and it garnered lots of audience members, that could be seen as well. So just be careful if you're going to use any examples of speaking gigs, especially under leadership or proof of recognition outside of your work. You can't be out there promoting your company's products. That's not what they're looking for. They're looking for your thought leadership, trends in industry. The fact that you work at your company is one thing, but you shouldn't be talking about promoting your company, because that's part of your job. And this is about more than your job. Okay. The third optional criteria is that you've made significant technical, commercial, entrepreneurial contributions to the field as a founder, senior exec, or employee of a product-led digital technology company. So whatever projects that you've worked on, you need to show impact. Impact is metrics, revenue, products sold, talking about what did it look like before versus after. If you can Google anything as well, if this is why I ask you to Google your name, if there's anything that you've done that the company has listed you as responsible for, and that you've had certain achievements and it's public knowledge, that's great. However, a lot of people don't have that because they work for big companies, and of course big companies aren't going to name people working in the background. But this is where your letters of support can help you, that to verify that you worked on it. But if you've got any independent evidence, provide that in addition to the letter of support. Okay. Any company awards. So if you worked on a project or product that got a company or innovation award or something like that because you worked on it, then that is your impact. But you have to obviously have a letter to confirm that you worked on that project and that led to winning the award. So everything has to be verified by someone. And again, impact can be to the company, to the customers, to the partners, and to the industry. So there are different levels of impact when it says impact to the field. The field is quite wide, so you interpret that however you want, but usually it's either to the company, customers, partners, and industries. Okay. The fourth criteria is something that not many people pick. I picked this because I was developing my glove. I had a wearable tech glove and I worked with a university in order to do it. So I was able to provide some evidence. What they're looking for is demonstrated exceptional ability and examples in the field by academic contributions to research published or endorsed by an expert. And that's usually by a supervisor. So I had a university professor who was working in the field of wearable tech, and I partnered with him by winning a grant, and they were able to help me, but also help their research. So I got them to write a letter for me. And any published journals, R&D grants, innovation vouchers, the research, letters of support from professors. So these are the types of examples that they would accept. Now, if you've done a master's or PhD thesis, that it's not usually accepted as evidence. However, if you've done a thesis, but then it got published in a reputable journal, then that would be accepted. But if it was just a PhD or a master's thesis on its own, that wouldn't be accepted because you're doing it to get the degree or the PhD, not for anything else. So if it goes one step further than by being published in a reputable journal, then yes, you could provide the evidence plus a letter from your supervisor. I hope that helps. Okay, so those are, I have to quickly race through this. I've got a bit more to talk about. So those are the criteria, and hopefully it's given you a bit more information. My top tips, I'm wearing both my coach hat and my a hat as the applicant. This is your chance to tell your unique story. It's about telling your story through the 15 pieces of evidence that you're creating. Your tech network is really important. It's your net worth in this process because you're required to get people to vouch for you and to confirm what you've done, not only through your letters of recommendation, but if you've got the criteria, people also may need to help you fulfill the criteria as well. Again, this process is about self-promotion. It's not about bragging. If you can't talk about your work in a positive, constructive, highlighting all your achievements and strengths, the assessor's not going to do it for you. It's up to you to do it. And obviously, this is what I'm here to do: is help you tell your story. Because if you're not good at it, I can do it. Being eligible is one thing. Meeting the criteria requires a strategy in putting together all 15 documents. That's where my value comes in. I can see what value you add, and I help you collate that into 15 documents in 3 pages each and make sure that you fit the criteria, but also tell your story in a unique way to convince the assessor that you deserve to be endorsed. Okay. And contact me sooner rather than later, because a lot of people come to me too late, or they start the application process too late, especially when they're trying to fulfill the leadership criteria, because you need time to build evidence. So please let me speak to you before. If you have any questions, I can certainly answer them and lead you the right way. Don't wait. I had a client last week who was made redundant early in the year and waited to now to start applying, and time is running out and they haven't done anything during that time. So if they had spoken to me in January, I could have said, these are the things you can do to help strengthen your application, but they waited 8 months and now time really is running out for them. And I'm like, you're running out of time, but I'm trying to help them as much as possible. So give yourself as much time as possible in this process. Don't assume the assessor knows anything. Okay, you have to tell them everything, and they don't click on links. I've had clients just put links after links and thinking that the assessor is going to click on them. No, if it's important, take a screenshot, source the link. And the assessors not only assess you, but they assess your experts. So everyone has to come across as credible. They need to know, like, and trust you. They need to know, like, and trust your experts through the story that you're telling and how you structure your evidence. Okay. I help people with, am I eligible? How do I present my documents? What is relevant information? Who can be my experts? How do I show my innovations? How do I show my impact? How do I show an exceptional leader? Where do I start? And I've received an unsuccessful result. What should I do? Should I appeal? So I help with all that. If you haven't had an eligibility call with me, go to my website and fill in my questionnaire, and I can have a look at it and have a chat with you. So that's my website there. Now, these are some of my packages of support. It's a lot. I'll whiz through them. My new Leadership in Tech course, it's the cheapest way that you can get started. It's $399. It just talks about leadership, because the other criteria is really about your day-to-day job. I don't have any problems with you probably fulfilling the innovation impact criteria, because you do that as part of your day-to-day job. What a lot of people run into trouble with is the leadership stuff, the external thought leadership, because that's not required as part of your day-to-day job. That's extra things you need to do. And unless you're doing it already, you're going to have to take time to build that. And that's what this course helps you do. If you feel like you can do it yourself, I've got an online membership area. I've got all my templates and everything provided for you, so you can do it yourself. If this is all do-it-yourself stuff. But if you need my support, I offer strategy sessions. So offer a plan in place to help you decide who your experts are going to be, what documents, what criteria, and what your story is going to be. And that's a 2.5-hour session. If you go for the strategy session, you get access to these. Okay, and you get 2.5 hours with me. After the strategy session, you can do it yourself, or you can apply for my upgrade to my review or coaching package. Okay, this price is the overall price, but really, if you've gone for my strategy session, my review package are minus $1,750. So you just pay the balance. Okay, for premium coaching 65, you minus 1,750, but because that already includes the strategy session. Okay, this is my premium coaching package. My review package really helps you review your application. So I help you at the middle and at the end as well before you submit. I don't handhold you out throughout the process for my review package. Okay, so I start with you with a strategy session. I come back in the middle to see how you're getting on. And then before you submit, I look at all your documents and provide comments. So I act as the assessor and help you strengthen. I give you ideas and help you strengthen your application before you submit. However, with my premium coaching package, you get my help from very start to the very end on the stage 1 process. And I check your application before I help you with all your documents. I go into your documents and edit them with you. Okay, and we work on them for two documents per week. We work together for 2 months every week. Okay, and then I help with appeals as well. So my tech and leadership, my Leadership in Tech course launches today. This is what the outline looks like. It's on my website. You get loads of videos about the what is the Global Talent Visa in a lot of detail, what is a leader, the internal and external thought leadership. Okay, so I'll break it down for you. Then part 3 and part 4 is about internal leadership in here with your internal self. And then I talk about the external stuff, public facing stuff, your personal brand, networks, diversity in the UK. The internal stuff is about you, your strengths, your self-awareness, how to build your confidence and the growth mindset. All these are really important to help you with your application and how you project yourself in through your Global Talent Visa application. So you get lots and lots of templates and resources. Now, the special offer, which I'm announcing today before I finish, is that yes, you'll buy the course for $399. It's all online and it doesn't usually have any of my support. However, today I'm launching that you will get a 45-minute, if you do purchase it, you get a 45-minute coaching session with me for today, or for the first 5 people who sign up. If you don't do it today, you can do it later. But I'm just capping it at 5 people because I'm very busy, but I do want to offer it to you because you may do the course, but you may have questions, or you want to plan a leadership plan, which I can offer to you by understanding your background and where you want to go to help you then prepare for your full application. This is just about your leadership because I've helped so many people apply for it, but we sometimes focus more on the leadership because they haven't got enough evidence. And this is what I love doing. I did it myself for 3 years, and that's how I got my global talent visa and how I got endorsed. I really did work a lot on my leadership on my own while I was building my startup, and that's what got me the global talent visa. But you can get started and do it. You can get started within 3 months using all my resources and ideas, and just give you a bit of confidence in reaching out to people and what to do. So please do take advantage of this offer if you are interested, because I'm only capping it to 5 people. Okay, I'm just going to whiz over these next few slides because I talk about the my packages, but these are some of my successful recipients, all of them. I've interviewed them on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, so there's a lot more now, but these are just some examples, just everyday people like you and I, and I still keep in touch. Some of them have got the ILRs, and I'm going to interview some of them as well, which is really exciting because they're on their way to getting citizenship. My bonus tip is start working on your external thought leadership now. Build your evidence to improve your confidence, your job prospects, and also your global talent visa application. The leadership criteria doesn't just help you with a global talent visa application. It really does help you in everything else, in your job prospects, in your interviews, everything. Just gives you a bit more confidence. So please do work on it. I can't stress that enough because I've been there. And if you want more information, my website's there. I've got a YouTube channel. I'm on LinkedIn. You can connect with me. You're all on my newsletter as well. So I hope this has helped you. I know I whizzed through it, but this webinar is recorded, so you can go back and watch it and really digest and think about it. So that's it. I do have someone has. Oh God, I've got loads of questions in the chat as well. Okay, so I'm gonna now leave it for you to, I'm going to open the floor, sorry, for you to ask questions. I'm going to go through some of the questions that people have asked me here. Does anyone know, is this for health and research sector? Yeah, so I do help people with health, as long as it's got a tech element to it, I can help you. But if it's just health, no. If it's a research sector, there is a research route, the Global Talent Visa in research. There is one, I think it's, don't quote me, UKRI, I don't know, but there is a research route. So you can have a look at that yourself. I only help with tech, okay? Yes, so someone's asked if a semiconductor design company founder is acceptable. It depends how the company is structured. If you are a design company, I do wonder if you're going to be seen as a consultant or a design agency, which means you don't develop products for yourself, you develop products for your clients. And that is not fall within the definition of a product-led digital technology company. You need to have products that you or your company own, that you sell or license by subscription to others. So I hope that helps. It needs to be a product-led, something that you actually produce and sell. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. You just said that you did apply, and they did not consider it as a product-led digital technology company. So that's why. If you can show that if you are a design company, but not only do you do designs for your clients, but then you may have changed your business model and you actually do your own designs and you have your own products that you sell, then potentially. But what they want is they want you to be developing products as your main revenue source. So we can have a further chat about that if you want to, and I can help you. Trading firms. I actually had a client who did apply as a trading firm. the assessor didn't consider that as a product-led digital technology company, but it depends on what particular products you have and whether or not it's innovative. That was the issue for the assessor. So I have dealt with trading firms. The assessor just couldn't see how the products were innovative. So we can have a chat. Yeah, automated trading. Yeah, let's have a chat because, again, everyone's different. Each assessor is also very different. Every product is different. But let me have a look at yours because the one that I looked at, they didn't consider that as innovative enough, but let's have a chat, okay? Have you fill in my questionnaire and let's have a chat. Someone works as a product manager for the last 2 years in a bank. Now, banks are interesting. Traditional banks are not considered as product-led, okay? But, the digital banks like the Monzos and the Revoluts and all those fintech type banks, they would be considered as product-led. So, yes, it depends. If you work for a traditional bank, then that would be high risk. But the digital banks, that should be fine. So it is, again, up to you to help decide. It's an IT application for financial crime. Yeah, but what bank is it? Is it a traditional bank? The questionnaire. Yeah, so go to my website. Sorry, someone's asking about the eligibility questionnaire. My website is www.michellehewer.co.uk, and then there's a button there to hit the eligibility questionnaire button, and then you can get it. But yeah, the bank issue, it just depends on what the bank is. So if you can fill in my questionnaire, I can help you there as well. Okay. Wait, there's one question again. Please keep your questions coming. I can't access if someone put their questions in the Q&A, I can't access it for some reason. If you could put it in the chat, that would be great. Yeah, Chris, that bank would be considered as a traditional bank, unfortunately. But let's have a chat anyway, so I can learn more about it and see if we can. And I'll tell you the risk because I don't usually tell people not to apply. I do tell them the risk, if it's high risk, low risk, or mid risk, and then you can decide yourself based off my risk assessment. Okay. Okay. What kind of research meets the criteria is the question, is another question. Research as in published research. So if it's published in a reputable academic publication, then that would be acceptable. If you have another type of research, let me have a look at it and I can determine it for you. But usually it's something published in a reputable publication. IEEE, Springer, those ones come to mind because I'm helping someone with theirs at the moment. So those ones are the ones that come to mind. I hope I have finished. It's 2:00. I hope that has helped. Yes, digital bank, potentially. Yes. If you want to fill in a questionnaire, I can have a look at that. It's not eligibility again is one thing. Okay, I can say, yes, you're eligible. But then I have to go further in our discovery call. I give everyone a free 15-minute discovery call only if they're eligible to see whether or not they'll fulfill the criteria because again, as you could see, if you are eligible, meeting the criteria is a whole nother thing. Do you fulfill 2 or 3 examples of the leadership criteria? Do you fulfill a couple of the examples of the innovation criteria, or have you got enough metrics to show your impact? So I go into a little bit more detail, but the leadership criteria is where everyone kind of falls down on. So they need to go away, do some work on it, and then come back and we can start looking at applying. So yeah, someone who works at the digital bank, yeah, that looks like you're eligible, but let's have a look at what products you're working on. What impact have you made to the company, to the field, to the industry? What leadership examples can you provide? So those are the questions that I do tend to ask as well. Okay, but yeah, fill in the eligibility questionnaire and I can talk to you later. But okay, I think that's it. You're very welcome. I hope this has helped you. This is why I do the webinars, because I can't talk to everyone one-on-one. So these webinars are a good way for me to get everyone together so I can give everyone the same information. My website has a lot of resources, but it is it is handy, obviously for me to sit here and answer your questions. Definitely. So I feel like I can conclude the webinar. Please do email me and we can have a one-to-one chat. But I hope that this has been helpful, and thank you so much for coming. I will put in my newsletter the recorded video of this webinar so you can watch it again. But yes, have a great day, everyone, and thank you so much for coming. Bye.